This video is going to be a deep dive into the families that are involved in the David situation. Not just David's family, but also Celeste's family. Now, look, I've called on people to kind of lay off of Celeste's family. I don't think that this grieving family really deserves the hate and negativity that's coming their way. And a lot of people do agree with me. There are people still asking questions and pointing fingers at the family, but a lot of people are basically, very rightly so, pointing out how bad David's family are in this situation. Now, there's posts going around on Reddit saying they created a monster, okay? Said the public wanted smoke with Celeste's family when it's actually David's family that seemed to be more complicit. Their child was addicted to gore and cartel execution videos as early as 12 and 13 years old. This is important. Why didn't they catch this? No one should give a kid access to any device with free reign on the internet. They were around Celeste on more than one occasion. They had Celeste in their Texas home while she was still listed as a missing teen. After a few conversations with a middle schooler, you know they're a kid. His parents didn't care she was a kid. His parents had to have been some of the people that visited the rental home on Doheny and asked him about the smell, not just friends and associates. Neither one of his parents asked him hard questions or monitored his online activity as a child. There's no way you'd call yourself homeschool teachers and not monitor what your child is doing all day. David was seeking to lure and groom kids as early as 15 through Fortnite and his Discord. It's sick. The ultimate person to blame is David. However, parents ignored or were willfully ignorant to many red flags. They're saying these clowns created a monster. Okay, at least one monster. Let's see how Caleb turns out. But we got at least one monster on our hands. People saying, I wonder if the parents look back and think, where did we go wrong? It's odd because they were deeply invested in certain parts of his life, but then Free Willy in other parts. That formula obviously didn't work. People saying, I don't think his parents have the ability to self-reflect. They probably blame it on fame and evils of Hollywood, when in reality it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the fact that their son is evil and they enabled it to all happen. They clearly don't care about their reputation or how this affects their other kids because they continue to stand by him. That says a lot about their character. Okay. It says if his parents truly wanted to do something impactful, they wouldn't have hidden his assets during all of this, and they would have denounced his actions. That alone screams shady to me, and that's my perspective. My opinion won't be changing until I see meaningful action from them. You don't have to agree, but this is my own perspective. Also, I find it interesting how people are telling me not to make assumptions about this situation, but gladly will make assumptions about me for my opinion because it doesn't align with theirs, okay? So people saying it's funny that they isolated him, probably thinking other kids would be a bad influence on him, when in reality, at least there would have been people holding him accountable because clearly they didn't. Okay. It's a completely random speculation here, but what if his parents pulled him from school because they were scared of what he might do to other people or to avoid the scrutiny of others? Someone said, my son asked me if he could download Discord at 10, and I said, hell no. He said his friend has it, and he's also 10. Parents are failing their kids, and it's making me the bad guy because I said no. Effing 10-year-olds on that app with all that harmful shit on there, unbelievable. It says, I caught some creeps on Roblox trying to teach my daughter disturbing things. I'm sure these are older teens or grown men, and they were in her chat saying, I hate your mom. Part of the grooming is getting the kid away from their parents and framing the parents as the bad guy for protecting them. It says his parents have his parents testified in front of the grand jury yet? I don't think they did. I think they were ducking that, as far as I know, in my opinion. Says, as a dad, I would have called other parents them, letting them know where their daughter is. David's parents must have problems, I think. Says they definitely should have been able to tell that Celeste was only a couple of years older than their daughter, bro. Shame on them. Said he took Celeste on tours with him while his parents were around as well. So many people had to have known her age from travel documents, etc. It beggars belief that nobody in his life put a stop to it or turned a blind eye. The immediate blaming of Celeste's family feels like an extension of victim blaming to me. So it was revealed Celeste's parents did take her phone away, which contradicts the narrative that was started about her parents. Everyone said they were getting payouts from David. Parents that encouraged the relationship or were getting payments would not have tried to completely stop communication with him. Very good point, all right? And David paid $1,000 to her friends to give her a phone. We know that now. People saying, I won't be surprised if they try and go for an insanity plea. He'll go through a psychological evaluation. If he does, it'll come out how much internet exposure he had as a young child to pee and gore and how isolated was. At the very least, when it's finished, his parents should face child neglect and child abuse charges. That should be a lesson for parents who act naive about the dangers of the internet. Okay, so look, there's a lot of breakdowns. There's a lot of thoughts on this. All right. Something I want to point out. So SF Investigates did a new update, and he's kind of talking about Celeste's living situation. So he said a couple of months ago, we disclosed that David was under investigation by the Riverside County Sheriff's Department and that contact had been made with him by the West Hollywood Sheriff's Department. That was confirmed yesterday and will effectively eliminate any defense that he didn't know Celeste's age. As we stated, detectives made David Anthony Burke aware of Celeste Rivas Hernandez's age, even though he already knew. What's also very troubling is that Celeste was at home in Lake Elsinore on April 23rd, 2025, when David sent an Uber to bring her to the Hollywood Hills. She had been reported missing for a full year earlier, and it was never reported to detectives that she was no longer a missing person, but she wasn't attending school. So on April the 23rd, 2025 was a Wednesday, a school night. She should have never been traveling 80 miles in an Uber to go and meet David. It's a good point, okay? Now, it sort of points the finger at the family, but really it just points the finger at this should have never been allowed to happen, and David is the person who is responsible, allegedly. People are saying that's such a long drive, especially if it was during the week and rush hour. She would have been in that Uber for hours. I wonder if that driver recalls picking her up since it's such a long and expensive ride, or if they have recordings or audio. The idea she left her home, spent hours in the car on the way to her brutal death, eats me up inside. Said they would have more than likely made contact with the Uber driver, given law enforcement stated the last time she was seen walking into his house could be through cameras, but I'd be shocked if they hadn't made contact with the Uber driver. Says, I don't care what anyone says, her parents failed her. They should feel complacent in all of this. They knew damn well and let it happen for a multitude of shit-ass excuses. Failure to protect at a effing minimum. Failure to protect a child is a legal term where a caregiver is deemed responsible for a child's endangerment due to willful neglect or failure to stop abuse from another person. It often applies when parents fail to keep children safe from domestic violence, physical abuse, or neglect, leading to CPS investigations or criminal charges. I don't agree, but let's just hear people out, okay? It says, they absolutely did. Way back in high school, I left the house to go to a city council meeting 5 minutes away from the home. My mum was furious to me I hadn't told her. I left the house even though I was only gone for an hour. I can't imagine just leaving the house to go from Lake Elsinore to his home in Hollywood. It's such a distance. I'm an adult and my parents always know where I am. It's sickening and I'm sick of people defending the parents or an excuse. Now, this is going too far. People saying they might as well have killed her themselves. No, let's not. I disagree, but if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. It says the world is unfortunately full of shitty parents who have no problem shifting off their underage daughters to older men if it provides them a benefit. This could either be directly some form of payment or having him alleviate some of the household financial burden by covering the girl's costs. Her parents need to be held accountable too. Now, that's all well and good, but if they actually didn't want her to see him and they were taking away the phone, and I believe I read that Celeste's mother was sleeping in the same room as her so she couldn't climb out the window at night. So I think it's a little bit unfair, and I think they probably did as much as they can. Okay, it says, did the parents know about David? What other reason would they have not to report him to the police? People are saying they were paid. That's why they're hiding their faces. I think people are going a little bit too hard on the parents, honestly. But anyway, what is really interesting, and people are pointing out, they're saying that basically David's family knew, and the victim blame of Celeste and her family need to stop. And this is a passage from the document. Basically says that she was reported missing. Defendant basically was called and he was visited by the LA Sheriff's Department. All right, they did a welfare check. They informed him that this was a 13-year-old runaway. She was a minor. He said, I only met her once in November. Showed deputies a yearbook photo of the victim on his cell phone, thought she was older, claimed to be unaware where the victim was at the time, and she returned home 2 days later. Well, she was about. Could you imagine going back to... look, this is hard to imagine because none of us would ever do this, but it's like, could you imagine getting a welfare check from the police and they're telling you the girl you're messing with is 13 and what, you close the door and go back and what, she's still in the house, you get back to it? What the hell is wrong with this guy? He had every message and every opportunity to stop what the fuck twisted shit he had going on, and he didn't take it, okay? And here, as we can see, this absolves the parents. It said that the defendant David continued to pursue Celeste. After she returned home in February, her parents took her cell phone away, and David drove to Lake Elsinore to pay a junior high school student in the victim's class $1,000 to give her a phone so they could stay in touch. And then she kept locking in with him, disappearing, even going out the country is crazy. She actually went and got a passport to go out the country, right? So I think you got to leave the family alone. It says, I hope today's doc drop helps correct people who are victim blaming Celeste and her family. Also, according to this filing, it was his family that was aware of what was going on, not hers. And it said here, she was taken to trips around to Las Vegas, London, and Texas to meet his family. So not only is it federal trafficking, but also the family knew. Says he drove to her city and paid one of her classmates to give her a phone, then later on invited her to meet his family, and they knew she was likely underage. There's no way they thought she was 18. They're so weird. What was his obsession with this 13-year-old child? He had money, he had fame, he had adult women that were no doubt trying to pursue him, and he kept going against the law to keep a relationship going with a middle school child. Not even that. Her parents just let her come and go as if she's an adult. I'll never get it. I'm not going to read that comment because that's fucked. It says his parents just seem, well, delusional. It feels like they knew there was something deeply wrong with him, but they just let him do as he pleased. There's people are saying David's manipulative. Maybe he lied to them. It says, how on earth did she travel to London without the parents' consent? It's crazy, okay? It's saying, so she had a passport, but how did he get her to London? I don't want to think about it. I'm assuming either through his management or through his family. Some adult had to pull whatever string they needed navigating the parents' consent. Now, I'm about to tell you something crazy, and I didn't even think of this. Passport's got your mother flipping date of birth on it. So if she's traveling to London on a real passport, I don't think this guy's not smart enough to not leave a trail of blood in his garage. I don't think he's smart enough to get a fake passport that works and take that risk. That's international crime, let alone the murder. So it probably was a real passport. Sounds like it was her real passport that identified her found on the side of the road. So who on earth is organizing this trip? Who on earth is typing the information from that passport into the website? When you book your tickets, you have to do that. You have to put in the passport info. You have to put the year of birth. So unless David was personally booking these flights, somebody else is complicit and somebody else would have had to know. That's what I think, all right? And I'm wondering if it's the label or the family, okay? Crazy. There's plenty of blame to go around. It is mostly on David, but to say her family, his family, her family, his friends and manager didn't know he was screwing minors and saw things and did nothing is delusional. Celeste was a minor and all of the adults woefully failed her and it cost her her life. David couldn't do what he did without the adults looking the other way. Everyone other than the victim failed. It says, but her parents were cool with it and he paid the parents. He wouldn't have had to go around the parents to buy a second phone if they were cool with it. Okay, people saying exactly. The internet's been wrong before. There hasn't been any real evidence to convict her parents, but people are coming for them out with their pitchforks out. The fact that this grown man who was financially wealthy with access to many things was manipulating her into believing this was a love story is the most important part of his routine. Saying she had to be abused to run away isn't accurate. Being manipulated by a man with money who can provide more than your own parents without any rules might be an attractive lifestyle to some kids. I'm shocked that people were so unwilling to see how the grooming worked. Okay. It's crazy. It says, obviously the focus of the case is on the psychopath that literally cut up a little girl, but it's not fair to pretend her family should take no blame. It said, young girls do not run away from home multiple times if all is good at home, and plenty of parents do not file reports solely for the sake of getting CPS off their ass, while fully knowing that the dude is a PDF doing bad stuff to the daughter. Now, here's the thing. I feel like even this comment, it's like they're going a little bit hard on the family. The family wanted her back. They took away the phone. They were filing reports. They probably didn't know what to do, and they probably had their own shit going on, okay? So I've seen this going around, and they're actually saying that Celeste's family have been officially cleared in the 2024 neglect probe. So this was posted on TMZ, and apparently the parents are absolutely in the clear, and I accept that, okay? Now, it says there is a caveat. The Riverside County Sheriff's Department were unable to interview Celeste, who had not been located, and therefore were unable to determine if a crime had occurred. So maybe that, basically it's saying that, they would have interviewed Celeste about mistreatment at home. She's unfortunately not here. She can't answer for that. But ultimately, the parents are cleared, okay? So a lot of people are arguing, they're saying they deserve child neglect charges for allowing their daughter to run off not once but twice and not report the information they knew until after her death, and also possibly taking bribe money from David or Celeste giving them money. But yeah, people saying if it was a black family, they would have charged the parents with the 14-year-old's murder. It's a bit of a reach, but perhaps there is definitely an institutional racism that goes on. But anyway, this is the full TMZ article that says that the parents were cleared, and there's new pictures of Celeste going around, and again, she just looks so young and small. It's so sad. It said Celeste's parents were investigated over allegations of child neglect and abuse about a year before David allegedly murdered her, but law enforcement found no wrongdoing. When she went missing from her family home in Lake Elsinore, CA, the Riverside County Sheriff's Office tells us they opened an investigation that year on April 27th. That was a couple of weeks after Celeste was reported missing for the second time. It's unknown who called to complain, but the Riverside County Sheriff's Department told TMZ the person expressed concern about a juvenile who had run away. We're told deputies responded and interviewed everyone who was at Celeste's home, but they have found no evidence of child neglect. Thing is, they said they weren't able to interview Celeste, who couldn't be located, and they couldn't determine if a crime had occurred. So who knows? Maybe if she was given an opportunity to be interviewed, she might have said they beat me up, they hit me. I don't know. Okay, she could have said anything, or she might have said nothing. So it's hard to go from. Now, this is an interesting post. People saying, I wonder what Blair Burke, David's lawyer, is thinking now that she knows that David's parents knew and hosted Celeste at their house in Texas, trafficking a minor, especially if she just hired David's father. Hired, that's not official. I believe there's some sort of connection between a company he's working for and Blair Burke's company, but I don't think that he has officially been hired by them, okay? People are saying she's employed at Blair Burke's law firm, but I don't think it's the same. See, it's not the same law firm. It's a firm that's got some connections to that law firm. But anyway, people saying, I'd wager David and his folks have been lying to Blair Burke. She probably looked at the report and recognized a number of tall tales her clients told her. I take some comfort in the fact that her deal is mostly celeb crisis management and that she doesn't do many homicide trials. Her last murder client got life in prison, not a stellar record there, okay? He's saying he's a dumb shit. Lying to your attorneys is the dumbest, most catastrophic move anyone could make, and I hope he's doing it often. People saying, I don't think Blair Burke will keep the case. I agree. I think tomorrow, who knows, we might be seeing Blair Burke saying, I'm out. That's ridiculous. Right. So people are saying she probably just wants her name attached to another high-profile, controversial case. I believe the original comment said she had no soul. I wouldn't say that. She definitely wasn't getting enough sleep, because when I saw her in court, she was looking nearly as frazzled as David. And Beth Silverman, the DA, was looking on point. She was looking dialed in. So this is the latest as well. They're saying Celeste's death certificate has been updated and it's unclear if she was pregnant. Now, there's talk that from the messages that there was a pregnancy, there was Plan B discussed. It says there's new documents updated in the death certificate for Celeste. The document now reflects the fact LA County Medical Examiner says she was murdered, and it's unknown if she was pregnant the year before she was killed. It no longer says not pregnant. It now says unknown. And the cause of death has been corrected from deferred to multiple penetrating injuries, and the manner of death is from pending investigation to homicide. So it is truly official now. The document was also corrected to say the injury date, hour, place, and location are unknown, and the section stating describe how the injury occurred now says with objects. So there you go. Okay, and the age still says 15. It needs to be updated to the age of death. I agree with that. So people are saying this is normal. Most of them say unknown, so it's pretty standard. But obviously, with the messages that came out, it is clear. Well, not the messages that came out, but the paperwork that said that they had messages that would suggest that David and Celeste had discussed pregnancy. And so they're basically, just to reiterate, this is that evidence where prosecutors said they have evidence of Celeste being pregnant, because texts that were recovered between them refer to sex, pregnancy, abortion, and the use of Plan B contraceptive, as well as illegal photos and videos. Okay. So people just, can't believe it. But look, okay, I think that David's parents have a lot to answer for now. I think that we can stop pointing the finger at Celeste's family and really, really start pointing a lot of fingers at David's family. You hosted her at your home. We already saw you guys sitting with her at the Fonda Theatre. The victim is sat in between your two children, next to your daughter of a similar age. Absolutely despicable. For them to still be supporting David after all of this information has come out is absurd, okay? I don't have kids. I don't actually want kids, but I know a lot of people do crazy shit for their kids. You know, a lot of the rationality goes out the window. You do anything, you die for your kids. This horror show, they need to throw this kid under the bus. This one's no good, all right? Need to put him back where he came from. Get rid of him, all right? Just leave him to languish in jail doing life. Focus on Caleb. Caleb's going to try and get his music career going. I don't think people are going to support that. But anyway, it's over, all right? It's over. I don't think there's any way out of this. And I think the family, they're persona non grata in the community as well. They're probably going to get kicked out of the church. They are absolute dirt, all right? Their names are in the mud where they're from, and rightly so. So I'll keep you guys updated if I hear anything else. There's another video I wanted to do on this, but I'm a bit tired. I might do it tomorrow. I might chill out for the evening. I do have some very, very interesting and big updates coming for you guys in the next few days. I got some big stuff I'm working on for you guys, so stay tuned. I got some big breakdowns, some big updates coming, and we're going to be covering some very new, completely different stuff on this channel very, very soon. So I'm really excited for that. Thank you for all your support, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. But for now, I'm out, gang. Peace.